Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to The Sweat.
And welcome to November. That happened fast.
It really did. I'm Jessie, he's Adam, and if you're watching, that means you survived Halloween. Hope you enjoyed trick-or-treating.
We're still just basking in it right now. Or just chasing kids off your lawn, whatever it is that, kept you going throughout the night.
Yeah, either way, we're here to talk less about that and more about sports for the next hour with a bunch of help. And first, we're joined by our NFL panel, DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich and Pierce Dietrich.
All right there, Jeff. Let's just dive on into the NFL Chalk Report, okay? See which chalky players will be the chalkiest of all, starting at quarterback. I was looking at it. You got Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Kirk Cousins among those with really solid matchups. Who stands out to you? Is it one of them, somebody else?
I mean, I do think it's going to be a week where a lot of people are paying up a quarterback. I think if you're going to differentiate yourself in GPPs, going cheap at quarterback is probably the way to go. Matt Moore, if Mahomes sits, might garner some ownership, but I think most of those guys are going to be fairly low owned. I think people are going to be looking towards the top, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to garner some ownership coming off 2 games where he scored over 30 DK points. Might be getting Devontae Adams back, which would be a really big boost here for Aaron Rodgers. And I think people just like playing Aaron Rodgers when he's in this form, and for good reason. I mean, the guy's still obviously at the top of his game. Chargers, obviously a team that are completely in decline. They still have an okay pass defense, but really the way Aaron Rodgers is playing right now, I think people are going to pay up for him. So I'm looking for Aaron Rodgers to be definitely one of the top 5 in terms of ownership.
One vote for Rodgers. Pierce, how about you?
I'll go with Russell Wilson right there at the top. Tampa Bay, good against the run, so you're going to get the funnel towards the pass. And as Jeff alluded to, the public likes to play these guys at the top. They feel comfortable with the big-name quarterbacks. There's not a lot this week. There's Rodgers and there's Russell Wilson, and Wilson's in a really, really good spot against Tampa. And everybody's looking to stack this game, so if you're stacking the receivers, then obviously you want to play the quarterback that's in it. And most people are not going to take the chance on Jameis Winston, given his floor and how badly he's played this year and pretty much forever. Wilson seems like the obvious play that everyone is going to go to. And just because it's chalk doesn't mean it's good. This could go really badly. We saw last week Wilson only threw the ball 20-some times, and that could happen. Seattle could commit to the run, and Seattle could get up by a lot and then stick with the run, or Winston could throw some pick sixes. It's not the best game script possible, but the way it looks right now, he's definitely going to be the chalkiest.
How about running back, Pierce? Who's going to be the chalkiest there?
I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook. You're kind of splitting hairs here at the top with him and Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's been great all season long. But the way that I'm playing this out in my head, I see DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel and possibly Greg Olsen getting some attention as value this week where there's not a lot of value. And people are not going to want to stack Carolina. So if you take the value from Carolina, then you're probably going to realize there's only so many touchdowns to go around, so you take Dalvin Cook. Of course, I could be overthinking the public. The public might just look and say, hey, Dalvin Cook's in the better matchup. He's facing Kansas City. Kansas City's 26th in touchdowns allowed. I don't believe necessarily that Cook is the better play, but at the end of the day, I see him having more ownership than Christian McCaffrey.
Jeff, what about you? I mean, maybe Le'Veon Bell here?
I think I like that call by Pierce. I think once you add that extra 0 to a running back's name, too, it just becomes harder to psychologically fit him in your lineup. So the fact Christian McCaffrey is 10,000 this week might keep his ownership down a little bit. I think Nick Chubb will garner some ownership. But Pierce alluded to it, there's not a ton of value on this slate. I think a guy like Mark Walton of the Miami Dolphins is actually going to get up there in ownership a little bit. There's just not many spots. Like last week we had Chase Edmonds open up. The week before we had a couple guys. There's not many spots opening up with injuries. I think Mark Walton, everyone knows he's in a workhorse role now. Even if it's the Dolphins, he's only 4,500. I think people are going to go there. I don't think it's a great idea. The Jets are one of the best rush defenses just in terms of yards per carry allowed. I think it's a very similar matchup to last week. With the Steelers. So, but I do think Walton's going to get some ownership. I think if you're looking for a swerve, going up to Melvin Gordon isn't the worst idea against the kind of worse Green Bay Packers rush defense. He'll be at least lower owned in my opinion. So I'm looking for Walton to get some ownership.
Stay with you, Jeff. Look at receivers, okay? There's Kenny Golladay, Tyler Lockett, Tyreek Hill, Allen Robinson, just among those that are priced, I don't know, reasonably, but also have good matchups. Any of those on your chalk report?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of those guys are. I think Golladay will definitely get some ownership, although he's way up there in price compared to the rest of the year. Oakland's got a terrible secondary, and I think people are starting to realize that right now, especially after they made that trade. But the guy I'm looking at is Mike Evans. He's still very affordable at 7,200. He's coming off games where he went for 12 and 17 targets. And he's going up against Seattle, who he doesn't really have like an above average pass rush They don't really do anything well defending against the pass necessarily on defense, and they have corners who are just a lot smaller than Mike Evans. I think this price, him, still being equal with Godwin, I think people are going to take advantage of that. People want to stack this game anyways. They're going to use Russell Wilson. They're going to look for someone on the other side to go to. Mike Evans is the logical choice because Tampa doesn't have a run game. So I think Mike Evans is going to get up there this week.
Who you got, Pierce?
DJ Moore is going to be really popular by the time Sunday rolls around. We've got a lot of decent receivers at the top, a lot of good receivers in the middle, and they're all going to split ownership between Seattle and Tampa. Those guys are all good plays, but the one play where everyone just is going to keep going back are these really cheap guys, and there's not very many cheap guys. And for whatever reason, Carolina's receivers did not get priced up this week. They're lower than they were last week, and DJ Moore is probably going to benefit from Curtis Samuel being banged up, maybe not playing, so he'll get an increase in targets. He's already getting enough targets. He's getting deep targets. The opportunity is definitely going to be there, and he offers you the ability to stuff in these expensive running backs or an expensive receiver or pay for Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. And he's in a good matchup. Tennessee, 20th in pass DVOA. Against Logan Ryan, it's not the best spot, but Malcolm Butler is not playing well, and recency bias definitely plays a role when we talk about chalk. And Mike Evans might be the chalk again this week, but Mike Evans, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns last week against Tennessee. The public knows that. And if you get a cheap DJ Moore as your third wide receiver, why not?
All right, Delaney, Walker, and Zach Ertz seem to be good plays at tight end this weekend. What do you think, Pierce? Are they going to be the chalkiest?
I don't think so. I don't like tight end this week. Again, there's not a lot of value. We've had more value in the past. This week, the salaries got a lot tighter. Now, Jalen Samuels and a couple guys, obviously we'll see some stuff that opens up before lock. But right now, where we're standing, there's not a lot of value plays. And I think Jeff's going to go in the same direction. You got to go cheap at tight end this week, and there's just not very many good options. I think TJ Hawkinson is going to end up being the guy. And it's almost down to him and Greg Olsen, which is crazy, but that tells you enough about the tight end position, that it's just not that good this week. Not good at all. So Hawkinson is going to be the guy that I would lean with. And the matchup is good. He's facing the Raiders. The Raiders have struggled against tight ends. He just hasn't done anything. Again, it's not a safe play whatsoever, but he gives you the savings. The upside is definitely there in this matchup. He's run 20 targets in every game. That's comparable to what you get out of George Kittle. It's just that there are other weapons on this offense. So Hawkinson hasn't really gotten the opportunity to eat, but this is a great spot for him. It's a risky, chalky play, but I don't think people are going to want to pay up for a safe tight end this week.
Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're doing this before we get the final word on guys like James Conner and Cameron Braid, who I think is actually going to be more popular than Hawkinson because he's cheaper. I mean, O.J. Howard has been ruled out. Braid is questionable, but it'd be shocked if he sits out just because Tampa's kind of in a must-win spot here, and they kind of need their tight end. He didn't do much last week, but he got 6 targets. Seattle's been a bottom 5 team all year guarding against the tight ends, and it's not like Jameis Winston and Cameron Braid. By the way, make Cameron Braid again. Pierce, I can't believe Pierce didn't pick Cameron Braid after that, but it's not like Winston and Braid don't have a good history together, so they can certainly take advantage of this matchup. I think most people are looking to stack that game anyways, and they might just end up going there. So I'm looking for Braid to garner some ownership. It's almost like the opposite of QB at tight end. I feel like the way to differentiate yourself is probably to pay up at tight end because some of these guys like Waller and maybe even Kelsey might not be as high owned as they are in regular league.
Pierce been making Cameron Braid again, I think, for 3 years now. He's a big proponent of that. Great start here, fellas. So good, we're going to bring you back later on. For now, though, we're going to hear from our pal Mike for Francesa Friday. Of course, we've got Parlay of the Week a little bit later on to check out, see which odds will be boosted for Sunday.
But first, to the PME studios for a look at the best quarterback plays for Week 9.
Russell Wilson is the most expensive quarterback on the slate at $7,100. Mahomes is still $7,000. He's probably not going to play. Well, let's say Mahomes does play. Would you use him?
Yes.
Okay. Would you use him? Would you use him over Wilson or Stafford or Rodgers?
So if Mahomes is going to play, and there's like 1/5 plus in terms of the ownership discount between a guy like him and Wilson, I think using Mahomes with like Tyreek is a very, very interesting and viable tournament spot. Just because nobody is going to want to go to him, and I like to embrace those type of things.
So Wilson, Rodgers, Stafford, 71, 69, 68. Then it's Cousins, Allen, Winston. Those are your other $6,000 quarterbacks. I can't see myself building lineups that don't have Jameis Winston in this week, to be perfectly honest with you. You either get the benefit that this game is a shootout. I've compared it to the Deshaun Watson-Russell Wilson clash from a few years ago in that afternoon game, but people were like not hip to that one being a shootout. This one, I think everyone is pretty much in on it, but I think a lot of people will just gravitate towards the Seattle side. And I think that if you stack Jameis, you don't do it with Evans and Godwin. I think you pick one of them and just roll with that because it doesn't seem like they ever have good weeks at the same time.
It's also what I talked about earlier. That's basically 21,000 of your cap amongst 3 players. All the production has to, like, if anything goes outside of that, you're in trouble basically. Because for them to both hit ceilings, when winning scores are 250 plus these days, it's just too hard to ask. So it's hard not to like Jameis. I mean, he turns the ball over, but that doesn't hurt you. And if he's honestly, him throwing an early pick 6 might not be the worst thing. You want him trailing, playing comeback. I think it could be a Josh Allen week, though. He's been a little quiet, hasn't done as much on the ground. I like the spot for him and John Brown against this Redskins defense.
And then you just hope that he starts rushing in touchdowns from the 1-yard line. Yeah, I don't think that people are going to go to him in what is a very good matchup.
Yeah, I think he's just been a kind of quiet, but he, you look at his game log and it's not that far off. He's finding the end zone on the ground away from one of those big performances. He's been quietly churning out, decent outputs. A home game, they need one sizable favorite, and he is very live to kind of have an explosive game, maybe before people catch up.
I could be talked into that. I just keep looking at Jameis, and like you mentioned, even last week, like he created garbage time in the first quarter for himself to come back and throw for a bunch of yards and touchdowns.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I watched that entire game, and it's amazing. He makes so many narratives that are useful for you. He's going to be popular, but ownership is always somewhat mitigated at quarterback because there's so many options, and of course, you can only choose one. So I don't really worry about that with a guy like Winston.
All right, NFL headlines after Tuesday's trade deadline. There's a lot here. Let's start close to you. You know where I'm going. The Jets reportedly shopped Le'Veon Bell, Robbie Anderson, and Jamal Adams, which Adams in particular was not happy about. Called out the coach and GM on Twitter for going behind his back. Couple that with a QB who admits to seeing ghosts. How big a mess is it there this season?
It's worse than you can even imagine. It's almost a backup truck time. It really is, and I'm not even sure the coach is going to make it. I'm really not. I'm seeing nothing that even is the least bit positive. As far as Adams, first of all, I've been on Adams before, and because he thinks he's far better than he is, and he somehow wants to separate himself from the losing like he's not part of it. Instead of helping his team get better, all he wants to do is single himself out. And then when he says he's not going to talk to the general manager, and you don't trade players like him or Tom Brady, the only thing that is alike about him and Tom Brady and Aaron Donald is they all wear helmets. That's the only thing that's alike. Okay, he is a good player, totally immature, selfish, and has not proven one thing in the National Football League yet. Not one thing. So he needs to grow up. He really does.
Figure since Halloween we mentioned Sam Darnold, I may as well ask you, do you believe in ghosts?
Do I believe in ghosts? No, I really don't. And as far as Halloween, I always align myself with skeletons, not with ghosts.
You don't have too many of those in your closet, do you?
No.
What's your outlook for Darnold this season?
Pain.
Yeah? No improvement over where they are right now?
More pain. I think the coach is quitting on the team, and
already.
I think the offensive line is almost to the point of being it needs to be declared a disaster area. It is that bad. I mean, I worry for his health and his sanity. He might be seeing more than ghosts. He might be seeing doctors again real soon.
Bengals gave Andy Dalton the Eli Manning treatment. He's been benched for a rookie, in this case, Ryan Finley. In the race for the top pick in the draft, which team is going to be worse this year? You know, we always thought it was going to be the Dolphins, and maybe it still will be, but they're 0-7. The Bengals 0-8. They're a step ahead.
I think the Bengals will win a game. I think that they've been very close. They've actually fought harder in these games. They actually have better players, too. The only difference between Dalton treatment and Eli treatment is that Dalton's not Eli. That's the only thing. But he did get benched, and frankly, it's not his fault. But I don't think they're going to finish with the worst record. I think, though, there are a lot of teams that are really heading in that direction now. Whether you're talking about the Dolphins, the Redskins, don't count out the Falcons, who are going to have fewer and fewer veterans who are going to want to play. You're going to see veterans start to take themselves out of the lineup on that team in the weeks to come and start to come up with mysterious injuries as they protect themselves for next year.
As we know, Patriots perfect at the midpoint, 8-0, but the kicker position has been a bit of a revolving door.
Yeah,
Steven
sure.
Gostkowski, I mean, he struggles, gets hurt. Mike Nugent struggles, gets released. Now you got Nick Folk, who you're very familiar with, kicked for the Jets, but he hasn't kicked in the league since 2017. Could this be an Achilles heel for New England?
No, I mean, it's surprising that he let this linger the way he did, because he's brought up and really subscribes to the same adage, which is never take the foot out of football. So they know not to always to pay attention to special teams. And Belichick does pay attention to special teams. He really does. Parcells did too. So they don't like this whole problem with the kickers. He'll get it figured out. What you like about them is when they have a problem, they address it. I mean, that's why it's not any more complicated than that. They show you how simple things are sometimes. Got a problem? Address it. Don't let it linger for 4 weeks and beat you 2 games. Address it. But they do really have a problem there. It has festered, there's no question, a little more than I thought it would. And I'll tell you, I don't think they'll go unbeaten. First of all, I think it's the worst thing that could happen to them, because I think it would wear them out by the time the playoffs came. So I think it would actually minimize their chance to win a championship if they went unbeaten. I think there's too much stress involved. Number 2, I think that they aren't as good as their record indicates, because they've had so many games where they've been given, and some of them are given turnovers, mistakes that are turned quickly into points or into touchdowns because they're in the red zone, or penalties. I mean, their offense has not been wonderful. And I know Tom says he doesn't like being on a team that's a defensive first team, but right now it is a defensive first team. There's no question. And I think they're eminently beatable.
Well, they got some early Super Bowls out of defense first before Tom Brady was Tom Brady, so maybe they win that way again. We'll find out.
They could, because the AFC is very, very weak. Their road to the AFC, I mean, they're already going to be the 1 seed. They're going to have home. They're going to clinch the division by Thanksgiving, and they're going to be home for the whole playoffs. So they have a very, very good chance.
I was going to go there next, because you tweeted about J.J. Watt being done for the year now. Obviously weakens Houston. And do you think there's anyone in this conference that can stop the Pats? I know they haven't played the Ravens yet. That's coming up, so maybe that changes your opinion if Baltimore wins. But you don't think so?
I think the only possible team that can keep them from the Super Bowl is Kansas City.
That's it?
That's it. I think otherwise they'll be in the Super Bowl.
Well, could be another dogfight in the AFC title game, that's for sure.
That's it. If they can get there and straighten out their problems, they're capable of winning. They would have trouble defending them. They would, especially if he's healthy and the offensive line's back and Tyreek Hill's there. They will have trouble defending them. But right now, they don't look the part defensively, and they're the only team that can stand in the AFC that can stand. There's about 3 or 4 in the NFC, but there's only 1 in the AFC, and that's Kansas City.
Since we are at the midpoint for most teams now, everyone's played 7 or 8. I'll give you the current division leaders. You tell me if you think any of them is going to miss the playoffs, okay? You got the Patriots miss the playoffs. So okay. Patriots, Niners, Saints, they're safe. But how about the Ravens, Colts, Chiefs, Cowboys, or Packers?
The only one that I would say could miss the playoffs of those teams would be the Cowboys, because I think it's a one team playoff league. No one else in the division is getting in the playoffs. They're not going to get a wild card because of the records of the other teams, especially the North. So they're not going to get a wild card. And I should count Seattle in the West too. But they're not going to get a wild card, number one. And so it would be one team. And Philly closes with 5 games, of which 4 are easy, and the other one is Dallas at home. They, I think, will win their last 5 games. So I think Philly, to me, is still the team to beat in that division. And I think there's a very good chance the Cowboys wouldn't make the playoffs.
All right, let's go the other way with that then. And you just mentioned the Eagles, so maybe that's your answer. But at the moment, you have Jaguars, Titans, Rams, Panthers, Eagles, all on the outside looking in. Do you think any of them will make the playoffs?
Give me the teams again. Jaguars? No. Who else?
You have the Jaguars, the Eagles, Titans, Rams, Panthers.
Only the Eagles.
So no comeback out of the Rams just in the Super Bowl last year.
No comeback out of the Rams. They will not win the division. They might get a wild card, but they will not win the division. And I think the Eagles will win the division.
Brendan Glasheen here with the DraftKings Fantasy Flash. 8 games on the NHL slate tonight, so plenty of options to consider when building those lineups. I am here to help you out with that. The Colorado Avalanche are off to a hot start this season, folks. They are 8-2-2 and tied atop the Western Conference standings with the Nashville Predators. Tonight they welcome the Dallas Stars to town, and on paper, this looks like a bit of a mismatch, but I'm here to tell you the Avalanche are ripe for the picking. 2 of Colorado's first liners are out for this one. Both Gabriel Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen are both on IR with lower body injuries. The Avalanche have also lost 3 of their last 4 games, allowing 13 goals in the process. The Stars, meanwhile, are coming in with confidence. They rallied to defeat the Wild on Tuesday night, 6-3, thanks to a hat trick by Alexander Radulov. The Russian winger had 4 points and 10 shots on goal in the contest. Good for a 55.8 fantasy point night. Radulov is a modest $6,000 in tonight's contest, so he'd be a good option to pair with one of his line mates, Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, take your pick. And if you are looking for some value with Dallas, Rupe Hintz will cost you only $4,400 and will get you second line and second unit power play minutes against a depleted Avalanche team on Friday night.
Let's go to the Jets at the Dolphins here. We have the Jets as a 3-point favorite on the road in Miami, 41.5 total currently. What are the news and notes here, Adam?
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite games, and I know nobody's going to say that. I mean, it's just so fascinating to me because both these defenses are so bad. I mean, the Jets' injuries, they traded away Leonard Williams. They had so many injuries at linebacker. Their cornerback plays one of the worst in the league, and Miami is fielding like a minor league team. Xavier Howard is going to be out now, so yeah, I mean, it's like I think there's more to chew on here, I guess, than other people, and I guess the total might suggest. You said what?
Would Miami win the XFL championship?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like hands down, they'd be undefeated in the XFL.
I think so, but I'd have to see the roster.
So.
I'd have to see the roster, full rosters for the XFL, which I'm actually excited about. I hope if DraftKings listening to this, I hope they roll out an XFL product because that'll be fun. But anyways, yeah, what'd you say the total was, Peter? 41 or
41.5.
Yeah, I mean,
and a half. The hook will bring you back.
That sounds really.
I'm with Adam on this though, actually. So this is giving me a little conviction here.
Yeah,
I like a lot of plays in this game.
Chris Herndon is questionable, but I mean they have shown a very strong commitment to the 3 wide receiver set of Demaryius Thomas, Jamison Crowder, Robbie Anderson. There were trade rumors around Robbie Anderson. Shout out to Robbie Anderson, by the way. He posted that funny Leo clip from Wolf of Wall Street where he's like, "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving," after the after the trade deadline because everybody thought that Robbie was going to get traded. But yeah, I mean, Robbie's a baller, and as much as I hate Demaryius, in general, they've been throwing it to Demaryius a ton, and it's really cut into Jamison Crowder's usage. So I think all those guys are worth mentioning. Obviously, on the Miami side, Kenyon Drake is gone. I find it hard to get excited about Mark Walton. I don't find it hard to get excited about Preston Williams, who has emerged as Ryan Fitzpatrick's favorite target. And like, say what you want about Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's going to be aggressive. He's not going to play scared. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting game, more interesting than I guess the market believes to me.
Is he Fitzpatrick's favorite target? With Devontae Parker getting 18 targets the last 2 weeks? Very similar price point. I'm more excited. No, okay. I'm more excited about Preston because how can you be ever excited about Devontae Parker? Right? I think I'm going to say what all of us are thinking here, right? Because first of all, There's so many plays in this game, and it makes me want to throw up. Because I've not wanted to play this many players on the Jets and or the Dolphins, let alone both of them, with a really low total. But everybody's so priced up on this slate that these two teams are not overpriced. The departure of Drake has opened up like 15 touches a game, possibly moving forward, with some of those being in the passing game for Walton, even though he's not a tremendous athlete. Volume rules everything. And if Samuel does not emerge as value on this slate, then I think that he is viable at 4.5K to open up the high dollar guys at running back. Either wide receiver is fine. It just comes down. Honestly, I think that it's a coin flip between Parker and Williams. And if you roster either, you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're like, God, I hope the other guy doesn't have a big game.
What about the full-blown game stack here, boys?
Oh, God, no.
I think this game's awesome. I mean,
what?
You got everyone at a huge discount. I get the totals low because the offenses haven't played well, but I think the Jets can play well, especially against Miami. And with Fitzpatrick back there, at least there's some upside. I mean, Fitzpatrick can get it going. He can run. And, yeah, to your point, Devontae Parker scored a touchdown in 3 straight games before last week. Preston Williams is a straight baller, CSU guy. Shout out to CSU. You got Robbie Anderson, who posted the rocket ship on his Twitter as well. I mean, how can you not play him after that, 5,500? You got Jamison Crowder. Love him. I mean, he's still going to get peppered with targets, even though the corpse of Demaryius Thomas is still stealing some of the target share. But, yeah, these are all awesome plays. And then Le'Veon Bell, I mean, he's expensive, but if there's ever an eruption spot for Le'Veon Bell, it's got to be here, right? Like, he's gotten a ton of volume all year, hasn't really done much. But this Miami defense is so pitiful that Le'Veon Bell isn't playing. You know, Mark Walton's not awful either. So I think there's just a lot of good plays in this game. They're all cheap, but it's a low total. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Le'Veon Bell at 7,700?
Yeah,
he's all right, but I have other guys in that 7K range that I would prefer to him. Do you think that that's fair or not fair, Adam?
I don't have the salaries in front of me, but I would guess
Chubb is 7,300. Aaron Jones is 7,000.
Yeah, I would probably prefer those other guys also. But yeah, I mean, you know, the way that DraftKings has done the pricing is not relative to game log; it's relative to projection, and obviously their system projects for Miami boost in a big way. I mean, at least, you know, 20%. I don't know, something crazy like Le'Veon in any other matchup probably would have been 6,500 or something like that. So yeah, I think he's interesting, and yeah, I think Sam Darnold can have a good game too. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should just bet the over and forget about all this DFS stuff.
No. Okay, look, I think that there's
a terrible idea. These guys are all cheap. Like, if it goes over, just like, seriously, all jokes aside, you can make 4-man stacks of this game, even 5-man if you want to get really frisky. I think that's probably wrong. But 3- and 4-man stacks of this game, you have a ton of cheap pieces, and then you can fit in all these studs, and, you know, you're in a much better spot because there's very little value overall on this slate outside of this game. That's my view on it anyways.
I'd be excited to finish like 75th out of 20,000 people and win $8. That I'm looking forward to that.
Fitzmagic to Preston Williams, 80-yard tutter right off the bat. How do you feel about that? That's what's going to happen here. Robbie Anderson streaking down the field. Al, talk some sense into me. I'm gushing about a 41.5 total here.
Pete Jennings, please pick up the white courtesy phone. Pete Jennings, please pick up the white courtesy phone. For the love of God, Pete, don't stack this game.
Okay. This is how I get even on the year. Win $1 million.
I think that there's like some good value plays in this game. I think that you can use them as one-offs. Maybe one guy and one other if you have to. But like, we're really going to play 2 or 3 Miami Dolphins and bring it back with 2 or 3 Jets? Like,
I think that's strong,
on this slate
like I
with
said.
Multiple. Thank you. Okay, good. We're off the game stacking of guy. You're driving me crazy.
Darnold, Robbie Anderson, run it back with Preston Williams. There's $1 million right there.
Can't lose. That's a lock for
Can't lose. That's a guaranteed lock. If you don't win, ping Smiz for some money.
You can get your money.
I got a great idea. Let's stack a horrible game with 2 terrible teams with unathletic players. This sounds like a great way to win money.
All right.
What's going on, people? I am Emerson Lotzi alongside DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow. So we're getting you ready for College Football Saturday, presented by Wrangler.
Yeah.
Jules, we've got 9 games to choose from in this contest, starting with an ACC matchup between Boston College and Syracuse. The Orange, winless in the conference this season. So what kind of threat do they present to the Eagles?
Right, we've got Syracuse at home here, but look what they've done. They're coming off a lot of bad losses. Last win was over Holy Cross. BC, it's easy to look down on them getting blown out by Clemson, but who doesn't get blown out by Clemson in the ACC? I think the Eagles have been far more competitive in this conference, and I kind of think that they have a good chance to go to Syracuse here and get a win at the Dome.
All right, let's go south. It's Florida-Georgia week in the SEC. 8th-ranked Bulldogs hosting the number 6 Gators in Jacksonville. Duval. All right, what kind of fireworks are you expecting in this rivalry, bud?
This is going to be a really good game. This is probably the game of the week right here. A really good SEC showdown between a couple of teams that really need a win. Georgia, really disappointing loss at home to South Carolina there a while back. They need to show that they are not that team. I expect them to come into Florida here and play like the better team that we expected them all to be this season. So Florida can obviously compete in this game, but I think it's going to be an awesome game, but give the edge to Georgia here.
All right, finally, to the sneaky good American Athletic Conference, we have 6-2 UCF, your national champions from 2 years ago, taking on a 3-win Houston team. How can they keep up with this ridiculously fast and talented Knights squad?
Yeah, Houston's a good team, but they kind of showed their hand this season when their quarterback decided to redshirt. So UCF coming off another game, running up that scoreboard.
63 points.
We got a UCF guy right here. I think we're going to get more of the same from the Knights in this one. A usual high-scoring game, a lot of points out of them.
All right, I'm Emerson Latzia. You are DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow of DK Live. That's a look at some of Saturday's top college football matchups presented by Wrangler.
Time to take a look at tonight's 8-game main slate in the NBA. We're joined by DraftKings contributor Greg Ehrenberg and Alex Barutha of RotoWire.
Gents, NBA building blocks, all right? We're going to go position by position. You tell us who you're building your lineups around. Greg, center first. Maybe someone like Draymond Green, Andre Drummond. Who do you like?
I like Andre Drummond. It's almost like you had the notes ahead of time and knew who it was that I was going to pick. That's very clever of you.
I just know how to find good matchups.
So I think it's pretty hard to ignore Andre Drummond in this spot. He's the best rebounder in the NBA. He's averaging nearly 20 rebounds per game this season. He's going up against the Chicago Bulls, who have the second worst rebound rate in the entire league. So it seems a spot where there's a really high floor for Drummond. There's a really high ceiling. And really, the only way I could see this going wrong is if he was to get in foul trouble. As long as that doesn't happen, he should dominate the weak Bulls front court.
Barutha?
I like Rudy Gobert here. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Drummond for sure and Clint Capella in that fast-paced Nets-Rockets matchup. But I mean, Gobert's price is just decreasing. You know, he hasn't had a double-double yet this season, which is really strange. I'm just banking on him, you know, kind of positively regressing against a Kings team who has looked just flat-out awful and doesn't have like a great matchup against him. I mean, Rashawn Holmes doesn't have the size to compete. You know, Dedmon, they're not throwing him out there for more than like 20 minutes a game at this point. So I think Gobert is a really nice option at 7,800. He's probably going to get lower ownership than he should.
Who's your building block at forward going to be, Alex?
Domantas Sabonis. I mean, with Miles Turner out, this Pacers team has suddenly become even more thin than they already were. With Turner off the court, Sabonis averages 61 DraftKings points per 36 minutes. That's impossible to ignore at the price that he's currently at. And I'm not necessarily too intimidated by the Cavaliers' defense. You know, Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson out there. So I think in general, this Pacers team, a lot of these guys are going to see increased usage with Turner, but Sabonis especially.
Greg, who are you building around at forward?
Yeah, I think Sabonis makes sense as well. But the guy that I'm going with is Anthony Davis. So I think that people might be a little afraid to use Davis after he had that really weird kind of injury situation last game. It was the Anthony Davis special. He was probable to play, then he was questionable, game time decision, then he was active. And that all changed within about 7 minutes of the game starting. But once he got on the court, it didn't really matter all that much. Like, it did look like his shoulder was bothering him at times. He did go to the locker room during the game, but he finished with 40 points and 20 rebounds in only 3 quarters. The game was a blowout. He didn't need to play the fourth quarter. So we look at Davis. I think he's the highest upside play on the slate. And we could see a little bit of reduced ownership just because people say, like, oh, Anthony Davis injured again. But it doesn't matter when he's on the court.
As for guards, Greg, let's see if I stole your notes again, all right? You got some tough matchups. There's James Harden, 11K. Can't imagine you're going to spend up there. Very expensive. Maybe you pay down a little bit like Kyrie Irving. How about that?
Well, I'm surprised that you would like Kyrie Irving. I figured that you were anti all things Kyrie Irving.
I am, but I like matchups. Favorable matchup for him.
For me, I am going the opposite of Kyrie Irving, going with James Harden on the other side of the game. If we look at what's happened with the Rockets this season, there was a little bit of idea of what would happen with Russell Westbrook and James Harden playing together. Would it hurt James Harden's usage? Would it hurt his playmaking? And so far, a little bit on a per-possession basis. However, the Rockets are playing so much faster with Russell Westbrook at point guard than they did with Chris Paul. The Rockets are playing the fastest pace in the league, but they were bottom 5 last season. So that's helping James Harden's production a lot, even though it's helping offset a little bit of the drop in usage. Last game, 59 points, 40 points the game before. So it looks like he's really getting comfortable playing alongside Westbrook, and it looks like he's going to be the high-scoring fantasy player going forward.
It is staggering, Alex. You can put these two on the same team, and they're still getting their numbers that they were getting independent of one another. But who do you like here for guards?
I'm staying in the same game. I'm going Kyrie Irving.
All right.
Greg touched on the pace of the Rockets. They're also, not only is their pace extremely fast, they're playing horrible defense. Honestly, they're on pace to be one of the worst defenses ever assembled next to Golden State this season. And I just don't really trust anybody in the Rockets to guard Kyrie, who's been playing out of his mind, averaging nearly 60 DraftKings points. Obviously, he's going to be very chalky. Everyone's going to play him, or Harden or Westbrook. But I don't mind here. I think this is a great spot for him. I mean, the Nets are expected to score 120 points this game, and they could easily go over that.
Best of all, he doesn't care if they win or lose. He just wants to be himself and get his.
He just wants to have fun.
Salty. So salty. And no way to know that Kaufman might be biased wearing his Red Sox jersey and dressed up as a big
he's Switzerland. He's just got no opinion.
Totally independent.
All right, try and save the people some money here, Alex. Where can people find value tonight?
I do like the Pacers here. Jeremy Lamb, with Miles Turner out. Like I said, this team is so thin. Lamb just came back from injury last game and took 19 shots. 7 of those were threes. About 36 DraftKings points. It's just someone's going to have to score on this team besides Malcolm Brogdon and playmake. And we saw Lamb last season, second leading scorer on the Hornets. So I do like him here at 5,600. In a contest that should be theoretically easy and some increased usage for him.
Greg, value, where are you looking?
So I like this spot for Derek White a lot. If we looked at what he did towards the end of last season as the Spurs point guard, he was really effective, and we just haven't seen that from him as much this year because DeJounte Murray's back from a torn ACL, and he's been starting at point guard for the Spurs. But now tailing to a back-to-back, Murray's resting, so that means White is probably going to slide back into the starting point guard role. Last year, as a starting point guard, averaged a little over 11 points, 4.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds per game. So at a cheap price, and somebody who we saw priced in like the 6K range in this situation towards the end of last year, that's just a lot of value.
Okay, how about slate approved pick time? Who do we like for the lock for this entire 8-game slate? Greg.
Yeah, so I think this is a really good spot for D'Angelo Russell. If we look at that Warriors roster, I just don't know who's going to score. I don't know who's supposed to make plays for them with Steph Curry's out. It was already a really thin roster. Now there's a ton of usage to go around. And outside of D'Angelo Russell, I'm not sure that anybody else is going to be able to make their own shot. So that's going to mean that Russell, ball's going to constantly be in his hands, sky-high usage rate. So I think that he's somebody who's could be priced as high as 10,000 or more in the next couple of weeks.
Great opportunity for him right now, Alex. Who do you like?
D'Angelo's a good call, but I'm sticking with the chalk. I'm going Kyrie Irving. Like I said, he's averaging nearly 60 DraftKings points a game, going up against one of the worst defenses ever in a super fast-paced game. I just have to eat the chalk here.
All right, thanks, guys. Plenty more to come on the sweat. We're finding out who Kolu chooses to get their odds boosted in the underdog parlay of the week. All that and more after this NASCAR price check.
Welcome to the price check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the salaries for Texas. Whose salary jumped up this week? Jimmy Johnson, $8,100 up to $8,600 in the spring race. Fast in practice, fast in qualifying, and fast in the race. It's a steep price tag, but he could be a great low-owned GPP play. Kurt Busch, $8,500 up to $8,900. Had a great day in the spring race, but be careful trusting data points from 7 months ago. Ryan Newman, $7,500 up to $7,800. He made the playoffs this year, but he has not been good in the low horsepower package. He has 9 top 20s. That's the same as Stenhouse and the same as Austin Dillon. Whose salary dropped this week? Kyle Busch, $11,800 and $11,200. He is due for a win. He is also due to get wrecked by Eric Almirola. Joey Logano, 10,100 down to 9,800. Don't worry about his 17th place finish of the spring race at Texas. He got 3 penalties in that race. Eric Jones, 8,700 down to 8,400. The JGR cars are the best every single week. This is a steal. Favorite play of the week, Kyle Larson, 9,200. A horrible start to the season. Then things magically turned around when he won the All-Star race and won $1 million. Boy, why did everything start to get good? Maybe because he won $1 million. William Byron, $8,000. He is close to winning. He might win a race by the end of the season. The Hendrick cars were fast in the first Texas race. All right, guys, check out the DK Playbook for your DFS information needs. If you have NASCAR questions, hit me up on Twitter at @RaceForThePrize. I'm Pierce Teacher. Catch me on DK Live.
We are talking with 4-time Pro Bowler Randall Cunningham. He is helping us celebrate the first anniversary of DraftKings Sportsbook at Resorts. So hook us up with your Super Bowl prediction right now. Which teams do you have in the Super Bowl, and who do you have hoisting the Lombardi?
Well, it's definitely going to be between Baltimore and New England. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion, because, there's just something special happening in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the NFC, I'm an Eagle fan, so I got to go with the Eagles.
Really? Right now, they don't look too hot. I mean, I know they pulled out that W in Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. You go get that road win, it makes a big difference. But, the old saying that the late Buddy Ryan had is you got to win in November and December. So you can do well early, but you got to get to November, December. And we're a gritty team. Philly's a gritty team. We got to get it done when we got to get it done.
So you have faith in Carson Wentz right now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Because I remember the publicity when I was there. It was just like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. Is he a young guy? Then when I got older, he's over the hill. And it's like, what? We still did well. Because the other guys pick up the piece to the puzzle, and then coaching does well. And Jeffrey Lurie, he knows how to run an NFL team.
So are you calling it a Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl? Are you brave enough to call that?
Woo. No, I'm not brave enough to call the AFC team. I'm brave enough to say I'm pulling for my Eagles regardless, the city of brotherly love. But, I'm pulling for Baltimore. When Lamar Jackson was there with the Heisman, I texted him, called him, said, man, I am so proud of you. And he responded, which a lot of the younger guys, they're kind of trying to make their way.
Yep.
But he responded, so I respect that. And so I'm really a big fan of his.
Yeah, that would be a fun Super Bowl. If you had to pick an MVP right now, who would you go with?
Oh, my gosh.
I know. It is a difficult question.
That's really hard. I couldn't pick because there's so many great ones out there right now, so I just wouldn't even get involved with that. I'll leave it up to you guys.
What about like an Aaron Rodgers Aaron Rodgers kind of come on as of late, but Russell Wilson is this. Go ahead.
Well, it's between those three. I'd say without a doubt. I love Aaron. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks as well. Russell, of course. I haven't gotten to see him on TV as much this year, but those three. And I'm really looking for that running back that's doing the job. But the offenses have shifted so much to this no-huddle offense that the quarterbacks are getting all the praise along with the receivers.
It's true. It is like a quarterback at war, but Christian McCaffrey there in Carolina is unreal right now.
Oh, he's a beast.
Which defensive player did you hate to face the most in your playing days?
Reggie White.
I was going to say, that's what I was going to say. I knew you guys teamed up forever, but then he turned enemy on you.
Yeah, it would be Reggie White and then Wilbur Marshall.
Okay.
With the Chicago Bears, because the dude just looked crazy. He was the perfect size. He looked like just a big, dominating, blown up. Just here I come. I'm going to catch you.
Yeah.
And when he was with Washington, I was thinking, oh my God, I got to go against this guy. And he was a spy against me, and I'm thinking, okay, I got Monty Coleman on one side, and then there's Wilbur right there. I'm thinking, oh, my God, I got to deal with these two guys the whole game.
Catching up with 4-time Pro Bowler Randall Cunningham, who is helping us celebrate the first anniversary of DraftKings Sportsbook at Resorts. You ever wish fantasy football was this big early in your playing days?
Say again?
Fantasy football, you know how big it is today.
God.
I feel like some people aren't even paying attention to the games or paying attention to fantasy football. Do you ever wish, though, or wonder what it would have been like if it was that big back in your playing days?
Well, it would have been pretty awesome. But with technology nowadays, I think you guys do an excellent job with it, and you guys have gone through the roof. And And without DraftKings, I mean, what is it? You know, it's kind of like you guys are taking it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And you keep us intact, and it's just awesome to see someone who is just pushing fantasy to another level and getting the fans really involved. And I mean, I've seen what's going on, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, we're trying to get people as close as possible to the game.
I did not think it would evolve like it has.
You would have been like a must roster every week with your dual threat ability. I mean, you would have seriously been like a first round pick in fantasy football. You do know that, right?
No, I don't know that, but
I'm telling you, and I'm not an expert, but I'm just telling you. I can't let you go without asking you about Tecmo Bowl here. We all know how I know. Hey, listen. We all know how unstoppable Bo Jackson was. I know technically your name wasn't attached to the position, but you went by the captivating name QB Eagles. How often do people bring up your dominance though in Tecmo Bowl?
I tell you what, when I used to play, people used to talk about the game Tecmo Bowl so much. and you know, the thing that really got me was the Dallas Cowboys back then. Emmett would run for 400 yards on you, and he would run over everybody. But I learned and I played the game so much that I got so good at Tecmo Bowl that I was able to put our backups in, and we would beat the Dallas Cowboys, which was kind of crazy because they were so dominant. But Tecmo Bowl was the game.
Look at that, man. You even took that rivalry to Nintendo, off the field and into Nintendo.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Good for you. Randall Cunningham, good catching up with you. Thanks for celebrating the first anniversary of DraftKings Sportsbook at Resorts.
Thank you for having me on.
It's the Sunday Night Showdown presented by KFC. I'm Jessie Coffield along with Ben Zwyman and Steve Buchanan. Guys, big one this Sunday, Patriots visiting the Ravens, two of the best teams in the AFC. On one side, you have a high-flying offense led by Lamar Jackson. On the other side, arguably the NFL's best defense. I mean, this is a tough one, and not just because I can barely focus because these look so good. Big decision to make here. I mean, who's your Colonel's pick for the captain spot? Ben, who's it going to be?
I've been using this strategy a lot in Showdown, and I think you have to go with the Patriots defense, right? You mentioned they're one of the best defenses in the league, probably the best unit in the league. The Ravens are coming off a bye, but Lamar Jackson, second-year quarterback, Bill Belichick normally does very well against those types of situations. And I think the Patriots are going to do a good job game planning to contain him and make him throw the ball downfield, which is what they want because they have such a good secondary. So I think that'll play to their strengths. They're also favored on the road, which isn't normally something that we see too often. So I like the Patriots D in the captain spot.
Steve, who are you going with?
Yeah, so kind of like what Ben is going off of. If the Patriots are going to try to force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball, I'm going to go with the guy he always targets, which is Mark Andrews, who has 55 targets on the year, which is by far the most on the team. That's been Lamar Jackson's favorite target to go to. It's not a great spot for him. The Patriots secondary has been dynamic, but if you're going to take the guy who's at least getting the targets, only good things can come.
Okay, so we have your captain, but give me another guy who's going to make your roster on Sunday, a side dish, if you will, Steve.
Yeah, it's going to be Mark Ingram. If they do end up getting down by the goal line, he's the guy they're going to try to hand it off to. 36% share in the red zone carry. So if you're going to try to sneak one in there, I think Mark Ingram is the guy that you can go to.
Ben, who are you pairing with your captain?
I also have a running back, but I'm going with Sony Michel of the Patriots. I think he's getting a lot of carries lately. We were a little concerned about him earlier in the season, but he's got at least 19 carries in each of the past 3 games. I think if the Patriots get up on the road, they're going to give him the ball. They're going to force feed him. And like Steve said, Mark Ingram's a goal line guy. So is Sony Michel. So normally that traditional pairing of the defense and running back, that's what I'm looking to do.
All right, guys, that'll do it for the latest edition of the Sunday Night Series presented by KFC. Try the new KFC wings today with your choice of buffalo, honey barbecue, or Nashville hot sauces. They're finger-licking good.
Hey there, it's Brendan Glasheen with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. The Kyle Allen showcase will continue for the foreseeable future in Carolina. Not only did Ron Rivera name Allen his starter this Sunday against the Titans, but also Ian Rappaport is reporting Cam Newton's Liz Frank injury isn't improving as expected, and playing football is a long way off. Rap Sheet adds Newton will visit foot specialist Dr. Robert Anderson in Green Bay Friday to learn why his condition is not improving. Recall, Newton elected to forego surgery in favor of the rest and rehab route after aggravating the preseason foot injury in week 2. The best Newton has been able to do since is rehab. Off to the side, that's it. It makes perfect sense why all along, or at least from the beginning, Rivera said the team won't rush him back. If there was a time for the Panthers to move off of him, and off of Allen rather, it was this week after struggling mightily against the Niners, a quarterback rating under 29, 3 interceptions, less than 4 DK fantasy points, but a matchup for Allen with Tennessee provides a potential bounce back. Titans pass defense ranks in the middle of the pack, 15th among NFL teams. Carolina just 1 game out of an NFC playoff berth. It's got to sink in for them soon. If they hope to make the playoffs, it's Allen leading them, not Cam Newton.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jessie Coffield from DraftKings, and backed by popular demand, this is Kolu. Kolu is going to choose which one of our 3 parlay options is getting their odds boosted. And this week we have 3 sets of underdogs paired up by division. First, we go to the NFC East, where the Giants host division rival Dallas, parlayed with Washington taking on Buffalo. Next, we got the AFC South, where we have the Titans on the road against the Panthers, parlayed with the Jaguars, who will try to take down the Texans. And finally, the AFC West, which has the Broncos attempting to upset the Browns, parlayed with the Chargers hosting the Packers. Last time Kolu was our underdog of the week. The parlay hit. Kolu is our golden goose. He chooses winners. Let's find out who's getting their odds boosted. You ready to choose, buddy? You ready? Are you ready? Go ahead. All right, we have an odds boost. Kolu has spoken. Tennessee and Jacksonville it is.
We got one last segment, and then you can go enjoy your Friday night, which for us means sweating out some games and thinking about some Sunday lineups.
Yeah, not to mention consider some betting options for the NFL. So let's bring in Jeff and Pierce again, both DK contributors. Now, we know the parlay of the week, guys. Can't say this enough. Kolu got it right last time. So can he do it again with Tennessee and Jacksonville, Jeff?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've said it before. I mean, Kolu's learning from he just does the opposite of what his owner does, and he's going to get these right. So Tennessee and Jacksonville. I mean, these teams are both live, obviously. I mean, I kind of like Jacksonville as an underdog this week for sure. I mean, Houston coming in, obviously, with tons of injury issues, J.J. Watt out, their defense not in great spot. I think Minshew, DJ Chark, I definitely don't mind that pick. Tennessee's a little bit interesting. I mean, I like Carolina as a team better. I think they're set up, just their defense going up against Tennessee's O-line is going to be a tough matchup. But you still have Kyle Allen in there. Yeah, I don't mind this at all. I definitely worry about the Tennessee pick more, though.
Pierce, what do you think?
I'm on a little different page. I think there's definitely a way for a road to victory for Tennessee. Carolina struggled against the run, and if Tennessee just commits to Derrick Henry, then they can get out ahead or just pretty much control this game. Carolina has some holes, and then again, Kyle Allen is at quarterback, and you've got Curtis Samuel who may not be playing. If they can just limit the damage that Christian McCaffrey can do, Tennessee definitely can win this game. I think Jacksonville may have a little tougher road ahead of them because they're Jacksonville. I wish Emerson were here for this, but he's not. So I think it's much better than the pick last week. Whatever that dog you guys had on last week, not very good with the picks. This is much better.
Pierce, making fun of dogs. Plus 425 to plus 465 on that boost, by the way. But let's get into some of these games. While we keep pondering that, let's consider the ones that obviously were not boosted by Reed Fowler's dog. The Redskins, major dogs in Buffalo, 9 points. But you can get them at plus 170 to score first. So you can take those odds, Pierce?
No.
Okay. All right, good. Jeff. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, look, Dwayne Haskins is not ready for this spot. Most rookies are not ready, and they're not ready in the first quarter of their game, but he's especially not ready for this spot. The best thing they've said about him this week was pre-snap and post-snap, he had good tempo. This guy's supposed to be a quarterback, not a drum major. That's not what you want to hear from your coach is good tempo. He doesn't know the playbook. This is week 9, and the guy does not know the playbook. Maybe he'll figure it out in the first quarter. Maybe he'll figure it out by the fourth quarter, but he won't know the playbook by the first quarter. He's got to face the 6th best pass DVOA, so we're pretty much counting on Adrian Peterson to move the ball downfield. It's not happening. They're not going to score.
Jeff, your thoughts?
I actually like this. Normally, I just dismiss these like score first things, but I mean, you're getting plus 170. Look, it's not like Buffalo is an offensive powerhouse. They also have a field goal kicker who's kicking at his lowest rate of his career right now, so there's no guarantee there. Look, Dwayne Haskins doesn't need to know the playbook. They're going to script the first 15 plays for him anyways. He's got Terry McLaurin, 140-yard pass there in field goal range, boom. I would take the plus money in this situation. Buffalo just is not a good offense. There's no guarantee they're going to get off to a good start. Yeah, I kind of like this one, actually.
Biggest total on the slate belongs to the Bucs and Seahawks in Seattle at 53. The total touchdown count in the game is plus 140 for 6.5 scores. Too high, Jeff?
Again, I mean, I do normally just shy away from these because touchdowns come down to a lot of luck, but you're getting plus 140 here. I mean, I think this is a perfect setup for Seattle to score 4 or 5 touchdowns. I mean, Tampa Bay has one of the worst red zone offenses. Seattle's second in red zone conversion, and you have Russell Wilson. This screams like 4 touchdown pass game for Russell Wilson. And then what do you need Tampa to score? 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns? It's not that far off. It's plus 40. Neither of these defenses are that good. Neither of them have good pass rushes. Yeah, I think plus money, this isn't that bad of that.
Pierce, too high for you?
It is. I'm on the other side. We had a similar play last week with Houston and Oakland. 7 touchdowns is a lot. And last week they scored 6 touchdowns and 3 field goals. If famous Jameis shows up and they're flinging the ball all over the field, then yeah, they can score. But if nameless Jameis shows up and we've got turnover after turnover, then Seattle's just going to run the ball and run the clock. Seattle will get a couple touchdowns. Tampa won't get anything. You might even have pick 6 here or there. I mean, actually, that probably would help. If you get a bunch of pick 6s, then yeah, maybe they can get over that. But I don't like the way that this scripts, because the bad Jameis always shows up, and you don't get enough out of him. And then if Seattle takes it easy, like we saw them do last week, you're not going to get over that number. You probably get some field goals here or there.
In the Bears-Eagles clash, you can get plus 195 odds for under 3.5 TDs combined. What do you think of that, Pierce?
I like it going over. I know you've got really good defenses here. Chicago 7th in DVOA, Philly 10th in DVOA. Chicago limits scores, but if you look at how many touchdowns they allow a game, Chicago gives up 2 touchdowns, Philly gives up 3. That gets you over right there. But the weird way I see this playing out is the defenses are just so good, and the offenses aren't really that great to begin with. What you're going to get is good defenses that set up short fields for some of these bad offenses. And although these offenses are not very good, but with a short field, they're going to have a really good opportunity to put the ball in the end zone. They only got to do it 4 times. So I say we go over here.
Jeff, you going to go on the other side? Be consistent here?
No, I know the number's big, and it's a nice, juicy plus 195, but I don't like the under here either. Look, the Bears' run defense has been terrible without Akeem Hicks. They've allowed 6 rushing touchdowns over the last 3 games, and Philly's actually been pretty successful running the ball. And then you look at the Eagles' pass defense. I mean, every quarterback against them has scored 2 times in some manner, except for Luke Falk. So you got to think Trubisky's putting it in at least once against this team. I mean, hopefully. Yeah, I don't like this. Neither of these defenses are playing that well right now, and I think the offenses are probably both due for a little bit of a positive regression.
All right, last one here, Jeff. Sunday night football features the Patriots and Ravens. New England's a 3-point favorite in Baltimore and minus 180 on the money line. But if you think the Pats will win and score first, you can get plus 160 odds. Are you interested in that?
God, this one's getting complicated. Too complicated for me. But
you want us to read slower?
I think the biggest factor here, and again, we're talking about kickers here, but I mean, the Pats are rolling in their 3rd kicker of the year in Nick Folk. And then the Ravens have like the maestro and Justin Tucker. I mean, you could convert from 60 to start the game or something, and you're done. So I think if you're looking, you don't want to bet the Pats on money line. I would just bet the spread. It's come down to 3 in a lot of places. I don't like this at all. No, I would just bet the Pats straight up.
Pierce, what do you think?
I like it. New England first in first quarter scoring, obviously first in most wins. Baltimore is second in first quarter scoring, but New England is first in limiting first quarter scoring. But you know what? Throw the stats out. Let me just end with this. If you've been betting against New England for the last 20 years, you're a poor person. You've probably lost your house. Your wife has left you. Your kids hate you. Stop betting against New England. You play New England. If you would have started betting New England 10 years ago, you'd be a rich person right now. If you did it 5 years ago, your kids would still like you. Don't bet against New England.
I'm not going to throw the numbers out. The Pats are 8-0, and they are outscoring their opponents in the first quarter this year, 87-7. I don't think we need to throw that away. Boys, you've been very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're out of here. That'll do it for us.
I think we should probably call it, right? About
Yeah.
ready for the weekend.
It's Friday. We should leave.
Got to come back on Sunday, though.
I know. We will be here on Sunday at 11:30 all the way up until kickoff, so we'll see you then.